You are tuning in to the Atlanta Realtors Rundown, the official podcast for the Atlanta Realtors. We're here to keep you updated with the latest trends, topics, and keep you in the know of our ever-changing Atlanta market. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to another episode of the Atlanta Realtors Rundown. Today I have guest David Sirzyk with us. Such an honor, and it will be such a pleasure to have this conversation with him. I want to start out by reading his bio, which he was reluctant to send me because he hadn't updated it for a while. That's how humble this guy is. And so I have done a little bit of research on him and added some things to it. So these are not his words. They are some partly mine. David is an Atlanta native, as am I, and has developed an extensive knowledge of the real estate market in the city, ranging from resale properties to new home construction. After earning his bachelor's degree in real estate from the University of Georgia and a master's degree in construction management from Georgia Tech, he began his real estate career. David prides himself on his clear professional communication skills, commitment to customer satisfaction, negotiating power, and the ability to exceed client expectations. In 2014, David partnered with Ina Edelman to create the Sirzyk and Edelman Group. In 2017, they expanded by adding another integral team member, Mike Tulsis, and rebranded to become Set Real Estate Group with Compass, which many of the listeners have likely seen around town. David is a proud lifetime member of the Atlanta Realtors Association Top Producers and has been honored to receive many other accolades through his real estate career. In 2016, David was selected as one of the 30 under 30 realtors by National Association of REALTORS and was highlighted in the Realtor magazine, which is distributed to over 1 million members across the country. David is married to Sarah, and they have 3 precious children, James, Nellie, and Sully. So you're a busy guy.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you for coming in. And what I wanted to talk about today was that 30 under 30. So I am thrilled to have somebody in my presence who has accomplished that from Atlanta.
Yep. Yeah, it was an honor. And, it's funny because I'm a little bit older now, so I look back and I'm like, was I under 30 and I was selling real estate? And but I think through it, I'm like, yeah, I was. And so, but yeah, it was it was an honor. It was always something I wanted to get, and it was always something I had strived for. And so, we can talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first kind of question to get the conversation going is, how were you even made aware of this? How did you come across 30 under 30? What led you to even know this existed?
Yeah, when I started real estate, I wanted to educate myself on everything real estate. And so when we would get the Realtor magazine, it would show up on our desk, and I think it was monthly at the time or something along those lines. And so the magazine would show up, and I would read from the front page to the back page. And so one year I saw the 30 under 30, and I think I was 26 years old when I got in the business, and so 25. So I remember seeing the magazine and being like, this is a cool thing, And then at the time, you would be on the front page of the Realtor magazine. I was like, this is going to be an awesome exposure for me if I could do this. And so It was always a dream of mine. And I said, I'm going to do it. But then I didn't really have what I felt was the resume to apply. And then, so after a year or 2 years, then I decided to apply and, was very fortunate to be selected. And so it was just such a cool thing because it always had been a dream of mine to be, a Realtor magazine 30 under 30.
So you noticed it in the magazine early in your career and thought, wow, this would be really great to be a part of. And do you feel like from that point of noticing it, you were like, I'm kind of going to put this on like my goals list or, something that I'm working toward?
Yeah. It was, I'm a big vision board person. And so I've got a vision board at the office that has kind of what my goals were. And Realtor magazine 30 under 30 was a printout on my sheet. It was something that I wanted to get. And I knew that I could do it, and this would kind of push me to do it. And so, like I said, it was a very, very, and we'll talk, I know a little bit about this, but it was a very, very lengthy process, but was well worth it. And when I did get selected, you want to talk about one of the biggest honors. To be selected 30, out of 30 people to represent the United States of America as top real estate agents under 30 years old, that's awesome. Right.
And I think that something that maybe not every listener understands is that this is not just like a self-proclaimed 30 under 30. This is not just like, in Atlanta or any other big cities, they're like, oh, I'm a top 5% agent. Of what? Of who? Who applied? Where did you get this data? But 30 under 30 designation through the National Association of REALTORS is out of the entire country of realtors. And our realtor body is made up of over 1.4 million members. So statistically, you're one of very few people to be able to have that honor. So that's awesome. You had it on your vision board. You were working toward it. And you talked a little bit about the application just a second ago, but share a little bit more about how that application process went. Like, how seriously did you take it? Did you spend a ton of time putting it together? Did you have anyone review it? Did you have help from, a mentor or somebody older or a staff member who might have had some experience with that application? Share a little bit about that.
Surprisingly, I didn't. And I didn't know anyone who had gotten the award. But I went online and I read, the frequently asked questions, and I read the application, and I said, I'm going to focus on this for 6 months prior to the application deadline and just give it my all and make sure, obviously, proofread it, and my wife proofread it. And then I said, I'm going to just be as detailed as possible, take my time, don't rush, not wait till the last second, and I'm going to give this thing my all. And like I said, I waited a few years into my career just because I wanted to make sure that I had what I thought was a resume that would represent myself well, and it did. But yeah, that was really my thought process, was just taking my time and slowly doing the application and just making sure I did everything right the first time around. And so, for me, and we'll talk about this, I was a first-time applicant and was accepted on my first time. And so, but I have a lot of friends who are Realtor Magazine 30 under 30s across the United States that applied 3-4 times and were not selected, and they kept applying, and finally their perseverance paid off and they were selected. So, I was a different story than some, but, I didn't know a lot. Like I said, I know a lot of people who tried, didn't get it, and kept submitting and got, accepted, and what an honor. So
there are definitely some cities and areas across the country that are more, in my opinion, more aware of the 30 under 30, and they might have association staff or brokers that know about this and encourage people to do it. So there are some areas, like I know DC specifically, I know a few 30 under 30s from DC, Harrison and Michelle, and there's some people there that were 30 under 30, and I think when they have a lot more competition in the city, maybe 4 or 5 applicants coming from the same area, it's a lot harder to get that honor from that pool. Whereas Atlanta, I've noticed over the years, we really haven't had a lot of people that have represented us. And so it's a great opportunity, I think, for people like you who see this as a goal and have the ability and have, the drive to do this, to try to achieve the 30 under 30. And that's really my hope of our conversation is, obviously talking about it and sharing, but extending the message to Atlanta and putting our name on the map a little bit more.
Yep.
So I have not filled out an application. I was not a 30 under 30, but I have many friends who are, and I've talked a little bit with you before this podcast. Yep. Tell me a little bit about the intensity of that application, and I know there's a video component, so I'm curious if you would mind sharing a little bit about your video as well.
Yeah, I will not put my video out there because it was a young David, that's for sure. But the process is very detailed, and it is extensive, and so it is. Now it does involve a video app. And the idea is, how can you stand out? And so, when I've watched from the past few years, every once in a while I'll watch someone's video that they post on YouTube, and I'm like, hey, I want to see what this person, how they do their video. And it's mostly someone does something to stand out so that they can stand out to the committee, to make sure that the committee says, hey, do you remember that person? And so that's where the video aspect of it kind of really comes into play. Talking just real quick about the DC thing and people applying multiple times and everything. So, for me, I'm a competitive person. That's just who I am in nature. And so I would read
Realtors, competitive?
Yeah, exactly, right. I would read every year. When Realtor Magazine came out, 30 under 30, I would read everyone's bio. I'd go to their website, see what they were doing. And so, and I noticed, I said, there was not many people from Atlanta, and I always thought that was so weird. And you just kept seeing the same big cities. And so for me, I would read every year, read the name, read their sales, read their amount of, how many transactions that they were on their side. And then I'd go to their website and see kind of what they were doing. And I knew that these were the best of the best. And so I wanted to learn from them. And so once I finally felt that I had the resume to apply, it made it easy for me to apply. And so, because I had this knowledge of what other people were doing in their markets. But Atlanta in general, I think, did not have an applicant, at least that I can remember, 3 to 5 years prior to when I did. So for me, I knew that this was an opportunity representing Atlanta, and that was a big part of it as well. And so, but like I said, my competitive nature, I knew what people were applying and what they were doing and what their sales were and what they were doing for extracurricular and everything else like that. So I knew what people, how they were donating their time and so on. So I knew what I needed to do. And when I was finally ready, and that's when I applied. And like I said, I didn't rush to do it. Took my time, made sure everything was perfect, and it was a success. So
I love that you said that, and I think that's a major nugget that people need to kind of take in and process, is that you did your research to educate yourself on what it looked like to be a recipient. So you were looking, kind of what's the profile of this person. You said something that was huge that I don't think people might be picking up on, but where they're giving their time, how they're organizing their business. There's a lot of things that go into it. It's not just the sales volume. Oh, you had an outstanding sales volume. Congratulations. Yeah. A lot of it is a community service component. How are you interacting in your community? How are you, participating and giving back outside of just cranking out the transactions? And you prepared yourself properly to do it, which is likely one of the reasons why you did get it in your first application.
Yeah, it's not about sales. And I think that's really important for everyone to understand. It's not about how much volume you have, because it's really not fair. You're not comparing apples to apples when you compare Atlanta to New York City, right? We could do, one transaction here for $2 million, and they could do one transaction in New York City for $22 million. So it's not fair to compare apples to, it's not really apples to apples. So what I always tell people, I'm like, it's not only about the sales. It's about your transaction volume, and it's about your and it's about also what you do with your time, how you get back to the community, who you are as a realtor. Are you representing the realtor name well? And so I knew that was part of the whole application process. And I mean, look, that's how you and I met, was through, the YPN here at the Atlanta board. So it was just such a cool thing for me to get the award, because I knew it wasn't just based on my sales. I knew it was based on just me overall as a real estate agent, which was really, 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 a super special for me.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that little bit about it. And you did mention that you didn't have to apply multiple times, but I think it is important to mention to people who do have an interest in potentially becoming 30 under 30 to start applying early, because it might take a few times. It's not uncommon. And don't get discouraged if the first time your application isn't selected. I mean, there are so many people who apply. And so it's taken some of the people that you and I know that are amazing, wonderful realtors, 2 or 3 times to get selected.
Yeah. I mean, we both know, like you said, many realtors who would easily be a top 30 realtor under 30, that if I could go back and do it again, and I would say that person should be a first-time applicant that's selected, and they weren't. But, that's just how it is. And, the one thing now is I think there's a public component of the voting now. So I think when it gets to a final,
I think it's 60.
It then goes to, the public to vote, which is a cool thing too, which wasn't the case when we were doing it, but it is now. And so, it's an experience, like I said, and some people unfortunately don't really, it doesn't work the first time, but just keep applying. If it doesn't work, just
don't get any older.
Yeah. Don't wait till you're 29.
Yeah, don't apply your first time at 29.
Yes.
Give it a go a little earlier, if not for at least the experience. But really, that's a lot of things when you're talking about the National Association of REALTORS, again, huge body of people. Very rarely do people get, you're an anomaly almost, because very rarely do people get things that they're applying for, be it the leadership, NAR Leadership Academy, committee positions, 30 under 30, any of these things that people apply for. Very rarely do they get them on the first try. So congrats to you. What do you feel like are some of the benefits that you've reaped from being a 30 under 30 and having that recognition?
When I was going for when I wanted to get the award, the idea for me was the recognition of the award would just be such an honor, right? And so that to me was kind of all I thought would come out of 30 under 30. And that is not at all what I've gotten from 30 under 30. What I've gotten from 30 under 30 is a network of amazing agents across the United States of America that we talk to in Facebook groups and text message chats once, twice a week, that give great feedback, that are successful in their business. They are real estate agents, they are moms, they are dads, they are working hard, and they give great advice on things that we can do better so that we all can make ourselves better real estate agents. And so, and then every year they have a retreat. So it's a time for us all to get together. They call it the mastermind, and we just talk through business and what we're seeing in the marketplace and what we can do to succeed. And so what I thought I would get out of it is not at all what I got out of it. I've gotten so much more from it. And so I cannot stress how cool and how important it is to apply if you are under 30 and it's something that you are thinking about, because it has been a huge reason that my business is where it is today.
Right. And just that support and that network, and I'm sure not just a network for support, but referrals.
Yep.
And just being able to pick somebody else's brain. And, I've had other podcast guests recently. I was talking to Brad, and Brad was talking about how valuable it is to have a network of people who do what you do from across the country at the caliber you're doing it, that can understand your pain points, that can understand your frustrations, that can understand your energy levels. Yep. And just to be able to have that group that you have through 30 under 30 that is like, these are the best of the best for years in a row that you get to be a part of that group and that mastermind. I mean, that's worth a lot of money right there.
Yeah. I mean, just a quick funny story, and I think you'll appreciate this, is my partners, Mike and Ina, they'll be like, where did you meet that client? I'll be, oh, that's a 30 under 30 referral. And they're like, aren't you 35? And I was like, yeah, but I'm like, it's just this group and this network that I've created of friends that will always be my network, whether I'm 35 or 50, I'm going to be working with them. And so the referral side of it is also great. And one of the things I've learned in this business is that when I do refer business out, I want them to be working with someone who's very similar to myself, that has the same work ethic. And so, because they're used to working with me. And so I know when I'm giving them to another realtor that was in 30 under 30, that they are in good hands and that they are going to be treated like by one of the best real estate agents in their new city that they're moving to. And I want them to know when they do send the business my way, it's going to be the exact same thing, that they're going to be in great hands and that I'm going to take care of their clients. And so it has been a great referral source for me.
That's awesome. And something that you didn't mention that I think is of value as well is just really, it's a resume builder for you. And when you sit before clients or you go on a listing appointment, if somebody Googles you or looks you up, I know you're not going to go in and brag about it, but they're going to see that you did that. And I think that adds a lot of, notoriety to your name to be able to say like, oh yeah, if, maybe they bring it up. Yeah, I was a 30 under 30. What does that mean? Oh, it's just this program from across the entire country of the top 30 agents, and, maybe share a little bit about your story of how it really, encouraged you to hustle a bit more when you were younger and focus on that bigger picture to be able to achieve that. Yeah. So have you personally, and you might not, and that's okay, have you personally, since having that experience and having that network, been able to identify or see other people in the community or interact with other people? And I know, it's not as common for agents to be under 30, but have you had any contact or participation in anyone else's application process?
So I was actually, once I was selected, the year and two following, I actually had a few people from kind of across the U.S. that did reach out to me and ask for advice on, the process. And they weren't always from Atlanta, and I was always willing to talk to somebody. So, but, I haven't myself noticed anyone said, hey, this is someone that can do it. But I know there are a lot of real estate agents in Atlanta that could easily be selected to this committee, by the committee. And so I would just recommend anyone listening that thinks they can do it or wants to do it, they can reach out to me at any time. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it and what the process looks like. And I'd happy to help anyone. I would be happy, to help anybody submit their application and, to get nominated, because I do think it also does represent Atlanta really well on a national level when we do get selected.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a broker listening or an office leader or somebody that leads a team with younger agents, I would encourage you to consider thinking of those agents and trying to help them kind of, groom themselves into a candidate for this opportunity as well, because what a great opportunity.
Yeah, when you're 22 or 23 or 24 and you're getting in the business, you're not always thinking about, what accolades you can get or what awards you can get back. You're kind of thinking about like, oh, where's your next deal going to come from? And so, I would recommend a broker, or someone like that. If you have someone on your team or someone at your brokerage that you feel could be a good fit, push them to submit. And I promise you, like I said earlier, it has been one of the best things in my career that's ever happened to me. And I always thought it'd be great, like you said, for marketing to go in front of a client and say, here's my Realtor magazine 30 under 30, and here I am. And it was a cool thing for sure. But what I've gained from that award was way more than that. And so it is something I would really push people to get people to apply.
Right. So, we can be doing our duty as more seasoned agents who know about this program and getting the word out to be encouraging younger agents to be pursuing this or striving for this. And maybe it does motivate somebody to do, launch their career a little bit faster than they would have otherwise, knowing that they might be eligible for that opportunity.
Yep. And we are, you said seasoned, makes me laugh, but yeah, 100%.
Well, how many years have you been doing this?
This will be year 11 for me.
Okay, so you're seasoned.
Yeah.
We didn't have to say when you started.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know what? I did a little bit age you because I did say the year that you received the award, so we know that you were at least 29 in that year.
Exactly.
At oldest.
Yep. When I was getting in the industry, accolades were a big thing, but Realtor magazine was actually print, and now it's digital. And so that is something that I think, is sort of changed since I've applied, that people just need to know and realize that Realtor magazine still comes out. I think it's monthly, and it's still a great read, and it still teaches a bunch of good stuff about real estate and learning to learn. And Realtor magazine 30 under 30 has gone every year since I've applied. And so just such a cool thing. And it was really a cool award for me to receive. And to date, I could probably tell you, I've received some cool awards for sure, but that was probably probably the best award that I've ever received. It meant the most to me. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't know about it. Not that I would have gotten it, but I would have definitely tried to hustle a little bit more.
You may have you and I on the same year would have been
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You would totally run laps around me.
No.
Well, I mean, was Kyle Kovacs in your year?
Kyle was the year before me.
Okay, I was going to say, I just had Kyle on the podcast.
Kyle actually, either the year before me or my year. Yeah.
I think he was 2016. Yeah. I've met so many people. I feel like an outsider who's not really on the team that's trying to force their way in and be like, pick me. Yep. But no, I've met so many people that are 30 under 30s, and they have been some of the most, and I'm not in that group, so I don't even get the full benefit of it, but they've been some of the most pivotal people in my career and the way that I have been able to position myself from a marketing standpoint, from a network standpoint, just all the things that they've been able to show me and teach me just through our friendships. I mean, I've invested with Kyle. I've gotten marketing advice from Harrison. I've, Michelle Doherty is one of my best friends. Like, I feel like I'm that outsider that is trying to force themselves in, but that group is just so inspiring. They're such hard workers. You're in it. I mean, it's something that, like you said, it's far more valuable than just the marketing piece. Yeah. And so, if you could give any advice to anyone, or if you could, what would I say? If you could advise somebody, encourage somebody, a tip, something that you think would be valuable for a listener or a broker or a leader who's going to encourage somebody to do this, what would you say?
I wouldn't wait till the last second. I would, my tip would be take your time with the application. Don't rush it. Be very detail oriented with the application, and it is a detailed application for a reason. I mean, they want to make sure that the numbers and everything that you're giving are real. Right. But just take your time. And for me, that was always what I said I was going to do when I applied. I was like, I'm going to do this 3-4 months prior and start it, and then when I'm ready to submit, I'll submit. And I promise you, when I say my application was submitted a month before it was due, but I was just like, I knew it's what I wanted, and so for me, I was like, I always thought, I looked at it every day on my vision board, right?
Yeah.
So, but, and one thing you said a second ago with, and so sorry, going back to my tip, I mean, my tip would be just take your time on the application and really think it through and just try to stand out, because there are a lot of applicants, but if you can stand out somehow, that'll make a big difference. But, for me, the network of agents, I mean, you talk about Kyle, for example. I mean, here's a residential realtor that did great real estate sales and then found a kind of a niche in this new market of apartments and other valuable investments. And I've heard him talk 3 or 4 times now. And I mean, you talk about things that I've learned. The amount of stuff that I've learned from the other people in this group is unbelievable. And it's some of the top agents in the world. And don't get me wrong, there's also a lot of agents who probably have fallen off and don't sell and aren't even selling anymore. But I can promise you that there are a lot of agents that are still producing probably number 1 or number 2 in their markets, and hearing them and bouncing ideas off of them, it is so invaluable. And so, just last month or 2 months ago, we have a team meeting for the Set Real Estate Group. And so we had another 30 under 30 come on and talk about social media. And, one thing I've always said I struggle with is social media. I'm just not great at it, and I need to be better at it. But I know it's important for my business. And so it's hard for me to tell my team members, hey, do your social media, when I don't even do it great. And so, and Mike and Nina are awesome at it. And so we were like, let's bring on someone who can talk social media and talk about how that can get you leads. And so we brought on an agent in Tuscaloosa who came in and is a top producer there. And she talked about social media and how Instagram can get you buyers and sellers. And it was awesome. And that was a 30 under 30 from my 30 under 30 network. So like I said, the amount of things I've learned from these agents will make me not only a better realtor, but a better person in my life. And so that is something that just has so much value to it.
And it's such a giving group. I mean, really, anyone who's involved with the National Association of REALTORS that's part of that network. I came into getting to know these people through YPN, and that's how I got to know you, like you mentioned. But that group and that energy is just so generous, and people are so willing to help that you can't find a better source. I mean, if you had to pay for the information and knowledge that you're getting from this group of people and the support, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Yep. So I think that that's something else that's, even if you're past 30 and you can't apply, or even if you're younger and you don't get it, pay attention to the people who are getting it. Like you said, go look at their profiles, follow them on Instagram, shoot them a message, ask a question. These are generous people with a legitimate knowledge base and a real business. This is not smoke and mirrors. And so these are people that we could be, learning something from. If we're not actually participating in the 30 under 30 program, we still have that opportunity. And those people being put on the forefront, like you said, I still get the paper magazine. Am I old?
Maybe.
Okay. I still get a paper magazine. He's like, it's all digital now. I'm like,
I thought it was digital, but
it is.
Yeah.
But I think
you can still get the paper.
You can still choose to get paper.
I would rather get the paper too.
But I'm with you. I still do it. I read it front to back.
Yep.
And I had noticed, I didn't start doing it young enough, but I had noticed as I was getting older, like, oh, these 30 under 30 submissions are really interesting. I did the same thing as you. I'd go watch the videos. I'd look at their websites. I'd follow them on social media. And then lo and behold, I start meeting some of the people who are my age that had already been 30 under 30s. And I'm like, this is an incredible source of creativity, business tips, marketing inspiration. There's so much that they are providing, and you don't even have to be part of that mastermind or that group to be watching it all kind of unfold.
Oh yeah, I mean, I listen to podcasts and watch videos from a lot of these 30 under 30 agents who are now national speakers and travel across the U.S. to speak on certain things that they've developed in their business, whether it be social media or whether it be investing in apartments or tax advantages and stuff like that. And so a lot of the time, I hear these people speak, and it's to the public. Anyone can listen to it, right? And so, and I've learned a ton from it. And so it is super valuable in that, I can, and I know these people. And by the way, a lot of these people are producing in the billions with a B, not millions. So, these are people who have produced for a long time now, and getting advice from them is one of the coolest things that I'm able to do. And so, and even though I've been, as you would say, seasoned, but
but still very young.
Correct. I still post in our group, and we'll be like, hey, what does everyone think about this situation? Or what does everyone think about ways that we can get new business lead, into going into 2024, right? I'm always thinking about how can we grow? Right. And so, and some of these ideas I would have never thought about, and they're awesome. And I'm like, thank God for this group, right? And so that's where the value of the 30 under 30 thing came in. And so someone asked me today, was like, are you going to keep marketing? And I was like, I'm going to market it till I can't market it anymore, because it is such a cool thing for me to talk about. And everyone in that network has become a friend.
Mm-hmm. It's like free game for anyone who wants to watch and pay attention.
Yes.
And it's like the real deal. So that's really awesome. Well, I am so grateful that you were willing to come in. And honestly, I could have had you on here to talk about a lot of things. So I appreciate you coming to talk about this. I think it'll be really valuable. And I'm going to, send it out to all your 30 under 30 friends to make sure that they listen. And I appreciate you saying that you would be willing to help somebody with an application. Hopefully your inbox doesn't get completely flooded, but I would also be thrilled if it did, because that would mean that people are listening and their ears are perked up and that they're interested in doing this. And so I know there are a few other people in Atlanta who have been 30 under 30, and people can look it up online to see past 30 under 30 members. So if there's someone else that has been honored here that's willing to help, I'm not going to put them on the spot, but that could be a resource for people who are interested in pursuing this as well. They can look on the website and see past honorees and reach out to them as well. Couldn't have everybody on the podcast, but we're grateful that you were willing to come in and do this. And we are all watching you be so successful in your business now, and you're definitely an inspiration to a lot of people in this community. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to the Atlanta Realtors Rundown. Please subscribe, and for more information on how to get engaged, check us out at atlantarealtors.com. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode.